Thank you very much. And now a very quick change. We have another session, Navigating Opportunities and Challenges, and we will hear about early career researchers in transnational projects. We will hear that from 6 experts, and it really warms the cockles of my heart to say that 4 out of 6, that 66% of the experts represent my alma mater, the Jagiellonian University in Krakow. After this session, there will be a short break for 11s or second breakfast, networking. Well, not that short, running for about an hour. And this is where the conference ends, terminates, concludes, finishes, comes to an end, closes, expires, and runs its course. But for now, the last session, and I can see that we already have all its members, plus both its chairs, Louisa Nienhuis from University College London and Sarah Perry, also from the University College London. Ladies and gentlemen, the time, the lectern, and the floor are yours.
Dzień dobry and good morning, and thank you very much for everyone who came here this morning to join us in the session Navigating Opportunities, Challenges, Early Career Researchers in Transnational Projects. Those of you who attended yesterday's session 7, European Research Area Potential in Social Science and Humanities, had the opportunity to hear from some chance project representatives from the Transformation Call and the industry partner about their work and collaboration. Today's session, we've got some of our presenters that are also part of the chance-funded projects. They're based in Poland, but they're from different projects, and what's more important, they're early career researchers in those projects. They will talk about some issues they're facing and other details about their career trajectories. For those who are unfamiliar with CHANCE, CHANCE stands for the Collaboration of Humanities and Social Sciences in Europe, and is an initiative of 27 research funding organizations from 24 countries supporting research and social sciences in humanities. During this session, we aim to provide you with some snippets of what it is like to be an early career researcher, or ECR, involved in transnational projects and the opportunities and challenges they face within them. ECRs will grant us insight into how they have encountered and maneuvered key issues in their careers, such as career trajectories, job security, as well as access to funding. We'll hear about their perspective and experiences on challenges and opportunities that have shaped their academic careers thus far, as well as the role of mentors, post-institution, and funding agencies that have supported them. So how will the next 90 minutes go? First, we will hear from our ECRs in short presentations about the journey they've undertaken thus far, which will be followed by a short Q&A, which will help us transition into the discussion period. The panel discussion will be led by my co-moderator, Sarah Perry, who is the project lead of the chance-funded project Transforming Data Reuse in Archaeology, or TETRACS in short. Sarah is also the lead for the Chance Knowledge Exchange program, of which I'm also part of, along with co-I Anna Simandarki-Grimshaw. To conclude the session, after we've having heard from our ECRs and what it means to be an ECR in a transnational project today, our ECRs would like to ask you some questions, get you involved in the discussion, you who are academics, industry partners, policymakers, funding agency representatives, and to get your valuable insights, tips and tricks of the trade, what could help them in their future and also in the future for other ECRs who are joining us online today. Before I hand over to our first speaker, this ginormous QR code, you might have seen it yesterday already. If you scan this, it'll get you to a website where you can put questions in for our speakers. We will triage them and then put as many out there to them as possible. If we don't manage to answer all of them, you're welcome to talk to them after the session as well. If you scan it now, you can submit a question, refresh the page, submit another question. There's no limit to it. And it's easiest if you scan it now, and they will come up later again. But if you've got it ready, it's ready. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Monica Goa, who is a second-year PhD student at the Doctoral School of Social Sciences at Jagiellonian University and is part of the chance-funded project DigiPatch, moving from networked to patchwork society.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for this introduction, and for the opportunity to speak to you today. This panel is dedicated to the stories of early career researchers in transnational projects. In this short presentation, I would like to first introduce you to the project that I am affiliated with and representing today. Then I will talk a little bit about some of my experiences as a young researcher. And finally, I will try to zoom in and focus on a couple of points that I consider the most important and relevant for this discussion. So a little bit about the DigiPatch project. This is a very brief telegraphic introduction. DigiPatch is a 3-year project led by Professor Małgorzata Kosowska of Jagiellonian University. Its main goals are to first explore how digital media, in particular social media and alternative political media, shift societies from sort of networked structures to more patchworked, fragmented ones. Then to understand why this is the case, in particular in terms of psychological, sociocognitive, and cultural factors that contribute to it. And finally, to outline what might be the consequences and societal implications of those changes. As you can see, our project spans 5 countries, and each country is leading different work package. And this diversity of the project manifests itself not only in different methods that are used to approach this problem, as you can see in the slides attached, but also in different disciplines that are represented in the project. Although we are mostly psychologists, and this is the perspective that we are approaching these issues with mainly, we also have media studies scholars as well as political scientists in the team. And although this type of multidisciplinarity and multinationality of the project presents many challenges, in particular coordinating this type of diverse team to work and actually produce some outcomes. I also think that this is very useful, in particular with issues that our project is concerned with, which are very sort of complex societal phenomena, which require, I think, multidisciplinary perspective to build a comprehensive picture. Okay, so now that you know something about the project, I will tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a PhD student at Jagiellonian University. You can see the entrance of my workplace on the picture attached. And my involvement in research began quite recently, because in early 2023, when I joined the DigiPatch project, still as a master's student pursuing my master's degree in something completely different. So there was this period in which I was trying to combine those two activities. And later that year, I finished my master's and continued working in DigiPatch as a PhD student strictly dedicated to that topic. Yes. So I think that I represent a relatively common career pathway, directly from being a master's student to pursuing a PhD program. And this is something that I think is worth reflecting on, because that's not the only pathway, and it presents both challenges and advantages. There was something in a way very natural in me just going directly to the PhD program, in the sense that I even work in the same building that I studied in for 5 years. I just changed floors. And many of my coworkers used to be my teachers just a couple of months before I joined the project. And also, I would say that there is this element of immersion in the academic culture and in research that comes very much in hand in this transition, in the sense that the literature is just moving forward so quickly, and this pathway was like very swift. And if I left academia and tried to go back, there would be a little bit of keeping up that could be a challenge. I also think that this type of project came very much in hand at this stage of my career, in the sense that it exposed me to a variety of research situations and problems to solve that I might not have encountered otherwise. I obviously received a lot of training. However, there is something very, very didactic in actually encountering a research problem and trying to approach it in a way that makes a lot of sense, that you don't necessarily get from classes in school. And I also think that this type of project allowed me to maybe think in a more like expanded way, less sort of narrowly focused way in approaching my PhD and my dissertation, because obviously there are so many activities in the project that I think this type of perspective can be very useful. However, this also comes with many challenges, because actually finishing a thesis requires a certain degree of narrow focus. You need to dig into this topic that you're trying to write a dissertation about. So in many situations, it can be a distraction as well, and I think this is kind of on us to develop this balance. I also think that there are some disadvantages of in going into academia straight after masters as well. I hear from many colleagues that did work in industry right after their masters, that they were able to use their skills that they gained from this work, and not only to some extent actually the skills that they used in work, but also just to draw inspiration from the work they did outside of academia, which can be something that is missing if you go straight to pursuing your PhD after masters. And I also think that in some sense it can be a little bit more of a mature decision, in the sense that they've tried both worlds in a way, and if they change their minds, maybe transition back to industry would be easier than, say, for me, where I have a very scarce experience outside of academia at the same time when my peers are moving forward in their careers in various industries. And just to finish it up, because I think we're getting to the end, I would just like to say a little bit about the role of mentors and supervisor as well, but in general about the role of teachers. I think that this is absolutely crucial. I wouldn't have decided to go to pursue research if it wasn't for very many people who encouraged me and thought that maybe I could be worth something, and maybe I could do something interesting in research. In particular, I think that the role of supervisor is crucial In my case, my topic selection was very much determined by the project aims, but within these constraints, my supervisor actually gave me a lot of freedom to just approach it in any way I want and basically do whatever I want as long as it's within our project goal interests. Okay, so I think I can finish with those reflections. Thank you very much for listening, and let's hear from another panelist.
Thank you. Many thanks, Monica. Our next speaker is Dorota Wojciak. Dorota is a final year PhD student in the studies in culture and religions at the Doctoral School in Humanities at Jagiellonian University as well. And Dorota is a researcher in the Chance project Digital Islam Across Europe, Understanding Muslims' Participation in Online Islamic Environments. Over to you, Dorota.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Dorota Wojciak, and I'm currently a PhD candidate at doctoral school in the Humanities at Jagiellonian University. And my doctoral program is in the field of studies in culture and religions. And my academic interests are focused on so-called lived religion in Poland. Lived religion perspective looks at the way religion is actually practiced, believed, and experienced by people. For 4 years, I worked as a researcher in the project titled Religion, Mothering, and Identity Among Young Mothers, Experiences of Catholic and Muslim Women in Poland. And this project focused on how religious frameworks shape maternal identity and everyday practice of caring children. Within this project, I was especially engaged with the stories and experience of Polish women who converted to Islam. And when the project concludes, I have a feeling that some underexplored topics remained, which I would really like to research. So for me, the Digital Islam project, which I joined a few months ago, was a great opportunity to explore some of the unresolved questions from the Religion and Mothering project. So there is some continuity here, what is very important to my experience, I think. Let me tell you a bit about the Digital Islam project. This is a collaborative international research initiative that explores how Muslims across Europe engage with the online Islamic environments. The project is being carried out in 5 countries: Poland, Lithuania, Sweden, Spain, and United Kingdom. In Poland, the project is coordinated by the Warsaw School of Economics, SGH, and Professor Katarzyna Górak-Sosnowska. The project examines how diverse Muslim communities search for and offer religious advice in digital spaces, both formally and informally. And we are particularly interested in how these online interactions shape religious authority and influence the visibility of different content creators, women, migrants, etc. For me, this project has been a way to continue studying Polish women converts to Islam, this time focusing on their online practices, the kind of religious resources they seek and share digitally, and the spaces of digital exclusions of Muslims. For example, Polish Twitter X appeared to be especially hostile towards Muslims in Poland. One of the most valuable lessons I've learned from participating in these 2 projects is the importance of working in dialogue at every stage of the research process. Whether designing research questions, conducting interviews, analyzing data, or writing papers, collaboration has allowed for constant reflection, negotiation, and simply learning. And I think it's quite an unusual way of working in the humanities, whereas in social science it is probably much more popular. Despite all benefits of collaborative work, the academic world, especially in the humanities, still often operates under the myth of lone genius. The myth imagines research as a work of single expressional mind, isolated and independent. Its legacy of enlightenment and romantic traditions, where the scholar is seen almost like heroic figure producing knowledge alone in library. But real research, as many of us know from the experience, rarely looks like that. Even when we look at the foundational figures in my field, the study of religion, we see that their most influential works emerge through collaboration and dialogue. We can take Emil Durkheim, for example, not only a major sociologist, but also a key theorist of religion. His groundbreaking book, The Elementary Forms of Religious Life, was written in close intellectual partnership with his nephew, Marcel Mauss, another prominent anthropologist and scholar of religion. The exchange of ideas was crucial for shaping the theoretical core of their work. So even the so-called classics of our field worked, in fact, in collaboration. However, the myth of lone genius still seems to shame how success is measured in academia. The practical consequences of the popularity of lone genius myth are quite serious. First of all, academic prestige. Oh, it's not this slide. Academic prestige is still largely tied to individual authorship and accomplishments, often at the expense of collaborative and interdisciplinary efforts. Research funding structures often mirror this bias, favoring projects led by single principal investigator over those based on collective authorship or shared leadership. In this context, the Chance was a great initiative trying to break the one leader-focused traditions. And this model, based on the lone genius myth, tends to obscure the contributions of early career researcher and reinforces the hierarchies within the academic institutions. However, I must say that in my case, I don't feel the last one, so the obscure of the contributions of early career researchers is my example. But sometimes I feel there should be more opportunities to apply for grants. With colleagues we work with on a daily basis in our institutions, for example, as co-investigators. I have the impression that while academia today strongly supports initiatives encouraging interinstitutional collaboration, cooperation within the same institution is often under-supported, especially in the humanities. So how we can challenge this myth? I have few rather vague ideas, but I leave this question open for your reflections, maybe. I think we need to shift the focus from breakthroughs by expressional individuals to sustain contributions, process-oriented thinking, and collective knowledge building. We need to recognize researchers' contributions across all phases of research, including tool development, data gathering, and analysis. And we need to maybe develop new, more accessible pathways for research teams to collectively apply for funding. To conclude, I firmly believe that collaborative team-based research is not only more inclusive, but also leads to richer, more nuanced knowledge. Thank you for listening. I'd be happy to answer the questions.
Thank you very much, Dorota. Again, if you want to scan QR codes, ask questions, we will have them shortly after we've seen our presentations. So now that we've heard from our PhD candidates, we're now moving on to our postdoctoral researchers. First one is Aneta Pieczka. Aneta is assistant professor and postdoctoral researcher in the Department of Management at Kosminski University, where she's an active member of the chance project Humans in Digital Logistics, or short HULOG. Aneta.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me here. Thank you for the introduction. And my name is Aneta Pieczka. I work as postdoc at Kosminski University in the project Humans in Digital Logistics, which is called HULOG. And for today, I would like to share my experience from transitioning from HR field to academia, which I know is quite it's quite untypical direction, because the more typical is maybe transitioning the opposite. Yeah, but I would like to share my personal experience from that. And a couple of words about the HULOG projects. In this project, we investigate how digital technologies are reshaping work and employment conditions within European warehouses. And we approach this from the critical management studies. And our paradigm is very critical, or maybe not very, but it is critical, and I will refer to this later. We work in a consortium which is composed of 4 universities, one from Poland that I represent, Belgium, United Kingdom, and Germany. And one can ask, what was your motivation, or why did you exactly change your career path? What was your insight behind that? So to answer this question, I maybe elaborate on my story. So I graduated from Management and Quality Science in 2021 at Jagiellonian University. At the same time, I was working for the whole period of studying in different parts of industry. And after graduating, I became a mother, which was another challenge. And then I decided to transition to full-time scholarship in academia in 2023. And that was the time I joined the project HULOG. And my current research is driven by my HR experience, and I hope so, I can bridge the practice and theory by focusing on the human dimensions of digital logistics. This is my scope. And why did I do this? Of course, because of my personal interest and reflective attitude, desire to engage with socially relevant and complex questions. And I took a very long-term perspective on career development. I've been observing people in business who were at the top of their career in mid-30s, mid-40s. And I asked myself the question whether I would like to be here in such a moment. And that was one of my motivations, the strongest one, that I wanted to do something maybe deeper and maybe more reflective than just climbing the corporate ladder, which wasn't never my dream. But of course, I had some initial challenges that shaped me in a way. First of all, adapting to new institutional expectations and academic norms. As you probably know, the business is operating under different conditions. It's much faster working in business than in academia. Understanding stakeholder dynamics in different national and academic contexts. In this project, we cooperate with different organizations, and I found it quite difficult to approach organizations in Polish context. because that is my point of view. The trust between business and academia, it's not very high here in Poland, and we needed to pursue and negotiate different steps just to access the organizations, right? So no disclosure agreements, months of negotiating, and different contracts with organizations. We need to anonymize all the data, and then they let us to access. In comparison to our colleagues from Western Europe, it was something completely different, because they were just, informally contacted some individuals, some officials, and that's it. And we needed to do in a very formal, procedural way. Next thing was my kind of identity question and tension. So I asked myself question, when would I truly define myself as a researcher? Am I still an HR practitioner, or am I a researcher now? So it took me some time to reflect on that and to understand that my previous experience is actually valuable in the field. Next thing is adjusting to diverse research paradigms, and this is something which is strongly connected with Polish academia, and I mean management studies in particular, because in here in management we mostly use quantitative methods. We want to measure everything, and we are very into questions like how to optimize processes, how to engage workers, how to broaden or how to take care of well-being of workers. And this, the paradigm of our project is quite different. It's more critical. So for me, that was kind of a surprise. And I started to research from the qualitative point, which was also new for me. I did my PhD based on quantitative studies, which are, as I said, typical for management in Polish academia. And now I'm researching by qualitative, and this is a great journey from my perspective. And last but not least, I think it's a nightmare of our society. I mean, the absence of immediate feedback or gratification, which is common in academia. We need some gratification, right? Like a society, we want some instant feedback. But in academia, you cannot expect that, right? You just need to work for a couple of years doing some maybe difficult job, and after that you can get some feedback, but it takes a lot of time. Yeah, so that was my initial challenges, but I think there is a huge role of my mentors and collaborative spaces, because I assume and I perceive the collaboration with mentors as the most crucial factor on this way. This is the unique opportunity to learn from leading scholars, not only from Poland, but also from Belgium, from the UK and Germany, which I find very valuable. The second thing is exposure to diverse academic cultures, which significantly enriches my academic development. I speak on a daily basis with my colleagues from different universities, different countries, and I think this is very developing from my perspective. Okay, so some reflections to sum up, to wrap up this transition. I think being a researcher is a huge and great journey. It gives us a freedom to explore meaningful and socially relevant questions. So this is great for me. On the other hand, we have an access to international networks, mentorship, and interdisciplinary collaboration, which I value a lot. And we have also a chance to shape emerging fields and contribute to ongoing social debates. But we also have to acknowledge our position, and this is our huge responsibility to recognize that it's a privilege to work in academia, because we somehow create the narratives around about words, And we need to be critically aware about how our research topics, paradigms, and methods shape the broader narrative. So the responsibility is even higher than opportunity, or maybe equal. And the last thing, engaging ethically with research participants, especially if we research very sensitive topics, like I mentioned at the beginning, that we research organizations and warehouses. So we basically interview, it is called low-skilled workers and people from, warehouses. It's not very sexy work. To be in a warehouse, to work as a warehouse worker. So this is our huge responsibility, to shape the narrative in a proper way, to find the inequalities, and to engage in an ethically and respectful way, because this is just a sensitive topic, yeah. So for me, it's very important. Okay, I think that's it from me. Thank you for having me here, and yeah.
Thank you very much, Aneta. Our last speaker for now is Theophilus Giannopoulos. Theo is an assistant professor in social psychology at the Behavior and Crisis Lab, Jagiellonian University. And like Monica, he is a member of the Digital Patch project, From Network to Patchwork Society.
Thank you very much, Luisa. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you, Luisa and Sarah, for organizing this very interesting and self-reflective panel, I would say. A little bit about myself. Before that, actually, I have to say that I joined the same project with Monica Goab, DigiPatch, at Jagiellonian University in Krakow. Luisa, what I did here? The first one? Yes. Great, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm Theophilus Giannopoulos. I studied psychology in Pantheon University of Athens, graduating on 2012 with a first honors degree. Then I continued with a PhD in social and political psychology at the University of Surrey in London, and after some time with postdoctoral research in London, Greece, and Poland, I joined in October 2023 Jagiellonian University in Krakow, the Behavior and Crisis Lab, as assistant professor of social and political psychology. My main topic of expertise falls into three different areas. The first one is on conspiracy beliefs and misinformation, and I'm going to actually connect this expertise with my role in DigiPatch. The second one is trust in science and institutional communication, and also I have done some research on moral and emotional dimensions of political apologies. At the moment, I am more into the conspiracy beliefs, the psychology of conspiracy beliefs, and how conspiracy beliefs and misinformation is spread in media environments, but also in offline environments. And this is how I was very much interested in 2023, in October 2023, when I joined also the Behavior and Crisis Lab. I was very much interested in DigiPatch, and I have to say I was a bit curious of how to make this misinformation and conspiracy theories more impactful and translated into real practice. I joined DigiPatch on 2023. I have been active member of the consortium, mainly looking at the role of media use in spreading conspiracy beliefs, and how people via media channels and media environment endorse and spread conspiracy beliefs to make them more visible in the society. And actually, when joining DigiPatch, I was just reflecting a bit on my PhD journey. and reflecting specifically on two major challenges which oftentimes PhD researchers and early career, I would say postdoctoral researchers encounter. One is internationalization of our research, and the other one is the development of transferability skills. Skills which we can actually develop from one project to another, and skills which help us bring our work in science, in experimental labs, in, I would say, controlled environments, to translate it into real practice and societal issues. To this end, I actually summarize my experience here and group my experience in two key questions which somehow brought me to DigiPads. Questions/challenges, I would say. The challenge of thinking what I could bring to the international project. Because sometimes researchers and scientists work in their own teams, in labs, and it is very difficult and tricky to develop these skills actually and translate their research into real practice. So reflecting on my background in conspiracy theories, my expertise and current research, especially post-PhD, during my postdoctoral, this role in DigiPads helped me broaden my theoretical and practical expertise, translating all my research based on social identities, trust, misinformation into real practice, developing practical tools to combat misinformation and real challenges which our societies deal with, especially in current crisis, COVID, climate change. I had also the opportunity to adapt my interdisciplinary work and develop also psychological insights which helped develop practical interventions, tools, technical interventions, policy-driven frameworks as well. So actually, my theoretical and research empirical expertise helped develop and inform this practical policy-making perspective of DigiPads. Another actually aspect, layer of my experience, my previous experience, which somehow contributed to my role in DigiPads, has to do with this bridge, this connection from empirical understanding to developing these interventions. So I somehow had the opportunity to move beyond the traditional hypothesis testing approach and empirical analysis to develop effective and policy impactful strategies, specifically focused on the role of misinformation, which is my area of expertise. And something that actually it is an ongoing process is to reflect on my own perspective, because oftentimes when we join these transnational projects as researchers, we have the opportunity also to reflect on our personal journey, what brought us to this project, and also we have the opportunity to revisit our epistemological stances, our research, empirical, theoretical approaches. So it is a very good critical, also self-reflective and self-improving practice for us as researchers. The other challenge actually is what actually is the take-home, what are the take-home skills, what actually develop as a researcher and we develop as a researcher for you as policymakers in these projects in terms especially of transferability skills. So the first layer of these transferable skills, which I developed during the last 2 years in my role as consortium member in DigiPads, has to do with these applied research skills. I felt that I strengthened my abilities to translate social psychology, experimental social psychology, to real practice issues and solving societal challenges. Also, something which is very important is that I developed a global network of research collaborators, which allowed me I believe that allows us also to speak different languages, different epistemological, scientific languages. As Annetta said very well before, this transition from quantitative to qualitative, sometimes, although challenging, can be very interesting one when we see ourselves communicating these different languages with different collaborators in these international projects. Also, I had the opportunity to enhance the public impact awareness to, let's say, tick the box of making empirical research impactful for real challenges, real life issues. Last but not least, develop this kind of flexibility to catch exactly the challenge which arises in the here and now. For example, now we all deal with war crisis, climate change crisis. So joining this project allowed me to somehow take the opportunity to translate my research in solving challenges that arise in the here and now, which also have a more future and long-term benefits for the society, for our societies as well. The short answer, if I had to recommend to early career researchers, PhD students, postdoctorals, to join transnational projects, the answer is yes, because they actually joining these projects allow them to internationalize their research, make their research impactful, and also develop these transferable skills to make their research impactful also for policymakers and not only academics. Thank you so much again. Pleasure to meet you all, and very happy to answer your questions.
Thank you very much. So we're now moving on to the Q&A part. If you haven't done it yet, there's no QR code on this one. Let me just go back. There's a QR code there. If you want to ask a question, please do scan the QR code. But obviously, you can also just raise your hand, and we can get you engaged that way. I will now hand over to Sarah, who will be taking over for this part of the session.
Thank you all. That was great. For those of you who don't know, my name is Sarah Perry. I'm really excited to be on this panel because we have been leading the knowledge exchange across the CHANCE program that brings together more than 600 researchers in these 26 projects, and we have tried to foreground early career researchers' interests in the design of these knowledge exchange activities. So it's just really awesome to be on the panel with you. I have a few questions for you individually about your particular presentations. And then if we see others come through online, or if you want to raise your hand and ask anything, please do. Okay. I'll kick it off and then come back to the crowd. I wanted to start with Annetta because we were in a conversation last evening with a couple of the other project leads on CHANCE. And one of the things that we got into a conversation about was this experience that some of us have had that have worked in industry before, where there was a sense that in our workplaces, you could make a decision about whether you were going to climb the corporate ladder or not, and that there, depending on the workplace, but in many of the workplaces we'd been in, there was the training available to learn some of the fundamental skills that are required to move up that ladder. And I wanted to ask you about to what extent you feel that postdocs, and I guess in your past as a PhD student, that you were primed with some of those critical skills that allow you to develop your research leadership. And I don't mean research skills, I mean like HR experience, administrative experience, mentoring, coaching, all of those things that so much of the labor of a research leader is about is a lot of bureaucratic work. And I was wondering to what extent you feel that you're primed to do that as an early career researcher.
Do you ask about my experience from HR mostly, or from PhD, right? And from previous scientific experience? I think when it comes to research methods, we are quite well prepared, right? But when it comes to research leadership, to be honest, I don't want to be too critical, but to be honest, we didn't have any subjects over the course of the PhD regarding leadership in academia. So these are our very personal experiences, and of course, our mentors are guiding us in terms of writing process, in terms of elaborating and intellectual depth of our research. But to be honest, we just learn by observing the examples, observing our role models. And that is the way that I learn from my supervisor, Dr. Miłosz Mieszczyński, who is a great leader, and other principal investigator, Patricia Zanoni from Belgium, who is also great in leadership. So I think that I'm led by example, not by knowledge that is taught on academia.
Thank you so much. I think that was our common experience as well. And the concern, of course, is that if you didn't have a great role model or didn't have a mentor that was able to support you through the learning of those skills, which are very challenging and very different from general research skills, that there isn't an ability to progress. So we were wondering if maybe there was a bit of a gap in some of the training that was available. Thank you so much. I would like to ask Dorota now. I was really interested in the kind of recommendations that you were putting forward at the end of your presentation. And one of the things you mentioned was an accessible pathway for teams to apply for research funding. And I wondered, in your mind, what does that accessible pathway look like? And you'll just need to press on the bottom, the button, yeah, at the bottom. Down. Okay.
The silver one.
There, the silver one. Yeah.
Thank you. I think about the pathways that can help in applying for the grant with the colleagues with the same room we work with, and To be honest, I'm not really a good, because I'm studying religion, and this word of grants, applying, etc. It's still for me challenging sometimes. So I'm not very good oriented, maybe. But as can I see, my colleagues are applying for grants and prepare some positions for people who should work with them. And but sometimes on the level of preparing the grant proposal, in this moment we are just working together on this project. After this, when the grant application was successful and someone had the grant, it's a competition for the position, for example, of researcher. And this is a good practice, I think, because it opened academic space for collaboration with new people, and also limits some kind of nepotism in academia. And I think it's a great solution. But in humanistics, there's not many ways to building a long term working teams. And this is a problem, I think.
Thank you so much. I was really taken by your point around the intra-institutional collaborations, and reflecting on it in my own work, where within my own institution, there are quite a few funds to allow it to happen within the institution, within an institutionally funded project, but to do it in an international project where the institution can also be interdisciplinary, it felt like something I hadn't quite reflected on enough, and it really feels like a gap in the opportunities. So thank you so much for broaching that. I know that there was at least one question in the audience, and I have a couple more for Monica and Theo. So did you? Yes. Okay. So right over here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. My name is Anis Heather, and I have just completed one European Horizon project, Polonez Biz 2, as principal investigator at University of Warsaw. And recently, we have started another project of Opus 27 NCN project. And I have been reviewer of this chance reviewing system as a reviewer of some kind of projects. And one thing I did not find in the projects might be, it was the assumption that how do you tackle the challenges in the collaboration system? For example, how would you deal the conflict of interest between the collaborators? So for example, GDPR system is differently implemented in different European countries. So being field researchers now, what do you think, what are the challenges that should be taken care of when we are going to submit our collaborated research projects? For example, GDPR, or if there are some kind of conflicts between the project leaders or principal investigators, how do you deal those? Whether these are corresponded or tracked or sent back to the NCBR, European Horizon, or chance funding scheme, or you internally decide such kind of conflicts that this should not be happen and let's have some kind of agreement on such issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's a great question. I was wondering if any of you have witnessed some of this happening. So yeah, shall I start with Theo and then to you?
Is it open? Fantastic. Thank you for this question. It has always been a challenge to somehow, let's say, pick the right collaborators, both academics and externals, I mean policy makers. In my experience, actually, starting firstly with adherence to open science practices, we do a proper mapping out of stakeholders, so who we can bring on board. And this process sometimes actually is, I would say, longer than developing the proposal itself, because we need to be very careful to combine different expertise, regardless of long-term collaboration, previous collaboration. Sometimes this is not the right criterion. Of course, we are tempted actually to pick those collaborators whom we know well. Probably we are friends and we know them as personalities, but this is not always the right criterion. So to me, it all has to do with a proper mapping out of stakeholders, I would say, at least from my experience from other projects, not exactly from DigiPass, because I joined DigiPass when the consortium was already established, is that actually it depends what you want to achieve with this project. If you want to make an impact, for example, societal impact, of course you have to broaden your horizons from your immediate network. But for me, in a nutshell, and to sum it up, I think it has to do with a very careful mapping out of the needs of your projects and the right stakeholders which can meet these criteria. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for this question. I think it's quite relevant, yeah. And from my perspective, each national context is quite different, and we have different stakeholders. And I would refer to first our database, which is connected with the raw data that we gather during the collection process. And we cannot share it with other countries, with other universities. So we, of course, collaborate by comparative studies, but we cannot share the data, the raw ones. Yeah. So this is the first thing. Another one, we anonymize the identity of our stakeholders, of our respondents, informants. So this is the second way to protect them, right? So that is my answer that came up to my mind at first.
Thank you. And if I may, just a couple of things that were on my mind when you were speaking. As a project lead of one of the Chance projects, I would say that I found Chance to be a really flexible scheme. So when we have experienced issues, we have been able to navigate around them, because unlike some of the other funding schemes that we've been successful with, there wasn't a lot of wiggle room in terms of navigating some of the problems. So that's just a little pitch for how wonderful I think the initiative has been overall. But specifically with respect to GDPR, this has come up across virtually every project as an incredibly problematic issue that is making it very difficult for the projects to be able to be successful. If you didn't want to have to anonymize the data because your participants actually want to have a voice in the research, that GDPR makes this very challenging as well. And we are funding a cross-Chance project to put forward policy guidance for the future of GDPR. So that will be out. We've just launched it. It's being led by Josh Edelman at Manchester Metropolitan University, who's running one of the other Chance projects. And over the course of the next year, they're putting together resources to try to deal specific, or try to provide a bit more guidance specifically on that matter. So thank you so much. I see there's another question out there.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Małgorzata Jakobs, National Science Center, Poland, funding agency. I have actually two questions to you. I'm very honored that you are here and you're sharing with us your thoughts. How do you deal actually on personal level with competitiveness and the fact of being evaluated, which is typical for academia, and again, something else than competitiveness in business? So the field of academia massively changed, which is in the past years, which is very visible, especially in Poland. Within 10 years, we switched from to grant system, basically. So this is also a change in mindset of researchers. And we hear a lot of criticism as an agency that the evaluation system is not fair. Yes, of course, because 80% of the grantees are rejected. So basically, in terms of business, we are not doing a good job. On the other hand, we have nothing better than the peer review evaluation system. And I wanted to ask you, how do you deal with this competitiveness, with this feeling of being evaluated, and how can we meet you halfway?
Great question. Does anybody have any immediate thoughts about how you handle competitiveness?
I could try.
All right.
That's a real challenge, actually. I'm trying several times to use this kind of unfair or challenging system as an opportunity to self-improve and make myself also, my ideas or my proposals more competitive in terms of increasing, let's say, the impact of my research. It has been a challenge, and always I have to say I'm personally reflecting on the fair or unfair evaluations and competitiveness or unfair evaluation as a result of this competitiveness, because especially in environments where we know each other, and their anonymity actually is very difficult to be secured. At the very end, I think that good quality proposals, good quality ideas, which involve different voices from not only from academia but also beyond academia, could probably somehow mitigate the risk. I'm not talking about completely securing, fairness and transparency, but at least, making the risks a bit less risky, I would say. Thank you.
From my experience, I think it's mostly about the right publication strategy. So me and my supervisor, at the beginning of our journey, we assumed or we decided to find some journals that we aim at over the next years, and we tried to publish just there. And these are journals not only 4-star, the best worldwide journals, but also some trade-offs when it comes to the publication process to get some win-win, right? Like the publication process takes 1 year, not 3 or 4 years in the maybe lower positioned journals, but it's still something which is accountable, which is fine at this stage of career. So we built my position by this publication strategy and starting from the accessible journals and then to go for more ambitious one, I would say.
Monica and Dorota, in the earlier stages of your PhD, to what extent do you say you feel this competitiveness?
Yeah, I do. It's something that already we can feel when applying for a position at a doctoral school. And what I have found useful for someone at my stage is just like relying on your immediate environment and your immediate colleagues for guidance. It was very helpful for me, and I've seen other colleagues do it, to just maybe set up a meeting and talk over the grant proposal idea in our the closest environment, and that would be my thought. This is what I try to rely on for the time being.
Thank you so much.
I have the same observations that Anna about the long term of revisions of our papers, and it's hard to publish in terms, but I know that National Center of Science Poland have the opportunities to publish this papers in revisions, and that is a great option. And I think also maybe more work or more support can we receive from our institutions. For example, I observe my colleagues that prepare grant proposals in their free time, not in the work time. So it's much harder.
There's a modeling of good behavior that, yeah. Yes, I understand completely. One thing that we talk a lot about in the project that I run is being able to take time to deal with the difficult emotions that come with that, like to talk them through, and just put the emotions out there rather than kind of bottling it all up as well. So, but I completely agree with you that there's so much there around modeling of behavior. And it goes back to the point about the things that you're being trained implicitly to do going forward. If most of this training is actually for the future research is actually coming through watching rather than through formal training. I had another question for you, Monica, before we move into a kind of general discussion of some wider issues about collaboration.
There's also one question.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's quite a few. I think I'm just, oh, sorry. Oh, forgive me, thank you. I'm doing a poor job as moderator. Sorry, Pavel,
just
go for
perfect
it.
job. I just have maybe somehow related question, because some of you mentioned that, first of all...
Could you turn on the microphone?
I guess it's on. Well, that's just, I try to speak up. Some of you said that it's a privilege to be part of academia. I fully agree. I guess we should really acknowledge it more, so thank you for this one. And also, you, Theophilus, you said that, in fact, you like somehow the flexibility. So my question would be about precariousness. Because when I talk to early career researchers, this is what they would emphasize. So my question would be, what's your take on this? And I'm not sure if there are some strategies how to deal with... because flexibility is, of course, advantage, but for early career researchers, it can be a serious burden. So the question, how you see also your long-term career path?
Okay, I can start. I think it's a very difficult question. I'm in a position which is quite different than PhD students full-time emerge in a project, I'm embedded in a project. But from my perspective, that was my deliberate choice to start working in business before joining the academia, just to allow myself to buy an apartment, have a baby. You know, this is very maybe basic need. But then I decided to transition when I were in a situation or in a position that I can afford it, right? So for now, I'm a definite contract, like because the project is a 3 years project. But then there is a huge role of our mentors, whether they want to retain us and help us at the next stages of the career. So for instance, I speak with my mentor for the last 2 hours about next steps after the project. And we have prepared 3 scenarios. How can I be involved in academia after the project will be completed? So I think huge responsibility of mentors. And on the other hand, our own situation that can just lead us to be in this precarious employment. Yeah.
Thank you, Annette. You raise a very interesting point about the trust you develop with your collaborator, your team. This is my experience as well. It all depends on with whom you collaborate, and that person or team should invest on your skills. And we have actually a kind of a similar alternative plans strategy when working with a team. Let me share actually one of my experiences with an advice actually I got 3 years ago during a research visit I did in Italy. From my collaborator that time and now long-term collaborator, that when you try to establish your career and deal with uncertainties of academia, try not to be a bee, not to fly from group to group because you think that actually this is a right thing to do. So it's not about being somewhere all the times. It depends also with whom you collaborate with and whether that person or that team invests on your skills and your potential in the long term. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. In the interest of time, I'm just going to ask each of you some of the wider questions that we've already discussed before, and I may just point to individuals to respond to particular ones. So our NCN colleagues helped to prepare some of these questions, which I found really fascinating, including the first one about what does autonomy look like to you. And I wanted to turn this to Dorota because Dorota, you were talking a lot about the lone kind of hero, lone scholar model. And I just wonder how you think autonomy fits in with that, and what does autonomy look like for you, and can you be something other than a lone, the lone hero, whilst also developing autonomy?
Yeah, I think autonomy is very important, but it is also.
Can you pull the?
But it is also a part of the lone genius myth. But for me, autonomy means that I can choose the topic of my interest, or I can basically do my research. Very often with my collaborators, with my teams. To be honest, I feel I have a lot of autonomy in my work. Also in my PhD preparation and choosing the topics, and also in the international teams in digital Islam. But I think this myth of autonomy is sometimes, maybe in a Polish context especially, and this neoliberal frame, very, maybe the more important and more, we focus on this topic too much sometimes, and I wonder if it helps with the working team, the sense of autonomy, or maybe it is sometimes a problem.
Thank you so much. As I ask the other questions, I'm also interested to hear other people's perspectives on the concept of autonomy. So if you want to toss this in as well, that would be great. And Theo, I wanted to ask you the second question there around, you did hint at this many times, I think, in your presentation about what being in an international project means to you. But as we discussed previously, I think it would be also interesting to hear more about what advice you would give to somebody else who's joining an international project, how to make the most of carving their way through that project.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's always a question I even asked myself when I was doing my PhD. The advice I would have to give to PhD students or postdoctorals, early careers who are somehow curious to explore a bit more this international world of projects, transnational projects, is to broaden their horizons and try to think of their research not only as part of a lab. The empirical research can be 10 times more impactful as, publishing in a good journal. Considering also the concept of autonomy, I would encourage scholars who would like to embark on this kind of being part of a consortium to make autonomous choices and take autonomous initiatives to even try and formulate their own groups of collaborators, because it can also be a sign of a good autonomy. It's not only being do research by yourself. It's just having good, proper criteria to actually somehow formulate your own target audience and target group. I have to say actually that this raises a very important, not necessarily concern, but something that I think the educational system should take into account to train students, even from the master level, to engage with community, because it is something that oftentimes we miss in academic research. And I would definitely encourage even master students to take opportunities to develop networks also with policymakers, stakeholders, and try to make their research more impactful and speak these different languages.
Perfect. That's a nice transition to the next question, which I was hoping to ask Monica about around how you think that working on a transnational project has changed your perspectives on academia and industry. And also there was a question too about working in science communication specifically and that kind of mediation of different audiences through different forms of communication. So it would be great to hear more about your general perspective on working in the project, but also how you're communicating between parties and what role you see yourself having in enabling that communication.
Yes, thank you very much. I would say that it has impacted my, my views on academia and industry quite a lot, in particular regarding the troubles in actually translating our results into something that would be of interest of policymakers or other institutions. It actually made me realize how difficult it is to produce something that other parties outside of academia can use. And I even noticed that when collaborating with survey companies who have both academic and non-academic clients, that the expectations of those clients are very different a lot of the times, and they sometimes don't realize that, you know, when you're researchers, you're concerned with things like pre-registrations and other stuff that maybe other parties don't. So yeah, I think that it's a very sort of underexplored thing in academia to try to bridge that gap between our research and the real world. And I also think that regarding the science communication, I think that I learned quite a lot of science communication by doing teaching practice and to try to sometimes even use my experiences, research experiences from the project to explain certain concepts to students. I don't know if it's something that everyone will find useful, but that was certainly the case for me. So maybe, yeah, that's my thoughts.
Thank you. It's great. I mean, that ability, especially to communicate to first-year undergraduate students in a way that brings them into the subject matter is, thank you for mentioning that. I think there's a lot of skill there that can be applied in many contexts. And then, Annetta, we've talked in the panel and then in your presentation as well about the role of mentors in your work. And I guess I'm specifically interested in, now that you're in the kind of progressing along the path of a research leader, what role you think that research funding agencies have in shaping your career going forward?
Thank you for touching this topic. I think the role is huge, especially when it comes to humanities and social sciences. I have an impression that natural sciences, engineering, technological sciences are much more developed and grounded when it comes to the collaboration between academia, organization, and stakeholders. There is a lot of, broad narrative about how to transform or how to get some patents when it comes to technology, engineering, and natural sciences. But when it comes to social sciences and humanities, I think this is not that developed yet. That's why I think the role of founding agencies is huge in transforming that kind of thinking. Maybe I will share one of the anecdote from my field work. When I met people from one organization that I conducted study in, after the interviews, they told me that they were afraid about me because I was from academia, and they were afraid that I will be just the posh intellectualist that will not understand them. And for them, it was quite a surprise that I was just a, normal person who talked to them about the typical or the common challenges that they encounter So yeah, I think the role of grants project and funding agencies, especially in social sciences, is huge.
Thank you so much. As we get into the last couple of minutes of the session, we would like to turn some of the responsibility onto you as the audience now. There's a lot of people here from different backgrounds, different disciplines and subject areas, different levels of expertise, and it would be great to have you share a little bit of your experience with the audience. I don't know if you knew that this was going to be the question, but please.
Thank you very much. I also have a question, by the way. My name is Nurdan Rahimli. I'm also first-year PhD student at Koziminski University. My question is based on the presentation by Aneta Pechka, but I would love to hear the opinion from all of you. You mentioned the point about building your identity as part of your academic journey, and I would like to know how do you think choosing your core research questions or more in general questions that you are intellectually curious about, how do those questions impact or shape your identity as a scholar? And in addition to that, maybe this comes from my overthinker nature, but I would love to know, do you ever experience that while you think about your research question and you go deeper and deeper, but you eventually end up with also dealing with somehow existential questions? Thank you.
Who wants to tackle this? Go for it, Theo.
Thank you for this question. I think actually identifying proper research questions is part of our professional identity. Especially when we deal with the challenge of being consistent, and especially for early career researchers who actually, for whom it is crucial and necessary to have a specific kind of voice in academia. So we don't need, for example, to do 10 different things because we are not making ourselves visible in academia. Because people know, for example, would know us, for example, as that person who is doing research on psychology, on history, on whatever. So actually, these research questions, I think, comes as a kind of our continuous reflexivity on who we are as researchers and where we want to go as researchers. So definitely, I fully agree that it is part of our identity. It should be part of our identity, and we should treat it as part of our identity. It is challenging when we think that actually our kind of research questions are somehow not in line with ongoing challenges. They don't respond to real challenges, and they somehow risk our impact making. So that time I think we need to somehow revisit these crucial questions, who we are, always as researchers, and where we want to go. But I definitely treat it as part of professional voice and identity.
Thank you, Theo. So again, it would be great, since we have so many in the audience, it's nice to have a little bit of interactivity with you to get some thoughts on your perspective. I can see that Malgorzata's got her hand up. Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you very much. I feel put on the spot through these questions. Being a representative of a funding agency, and it should be stated from the outset that from the perspective of a research funding agency, supporting early career researchers is one of the top priorities. And to put it into numbers, 32% of the total funding in NCN was allocated to young researchers. 59% of all projects awarded funding are being carried out by young researchers. So these are great numbers. And on the other hand, yes, we are aware of many problems that you discussed today, and we recognize difficulties related to the lack of financially attractive offers, limited number of positions, high specialization requirements and often the necessity of mobility. These are aspects that are important to us, and we also acknowledge the challenges related to the dual career, which was mentioned today. And I think these dual career opportunities still remain less accessible for early career researchers than for the advanced researchers. And if I may answer also the second question, and take this unique opportunity to discuss with you, I think this long-term thinking about your career path and competitiveness, and a clear path and method of career should be really one of the main points at the beginning of your career. Why? Because I saw thousands of applications, and it is every time visible if you have a strategy of publication. One of you mentioned that I sat together with my mentor, and we had a clear strategy, and this is visible, this is highly appreciated, and this stands out versus ad hoc publications. So this is clearly visible during evaluation panels. And one last thing I would like to add is just please serve the truth, because it entails the service of a high-quality research. So I think you are the best example of being in a unique moment within Chance, and you can multiply your experience to your peers that are not involved in such transnational collaboration. So thank you for your work.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Just to wrap up, I was going to pose it as a question, but since we had a little chat right beforehand, I thought I would just put it out there as a reflection. I was going to pose the question to the panel, but also to you as the audience about what we are doing to support early career researchers in terms of their own green consciousness, in terms of being good planetary citizens going forward, in terms of developing not only their skills, but also my skills as a project leader in being environmentally aware. So much of this conference, we've been talking about things like green transitions, and we discussed what is the training that is being given to early career researchers and other research leaders in terms of themselves being green conscious and actively involved and actively aware of the impacts that their research is having on the environment, and also skilled in being able to manage those impacts going forward. These, of course, are our future research leaders, right? And I don't know if you think it's fair to summarize, but I feel most of us feel there isn't a lot of training right now in how to become those future green leaders in our own research areas. We talked a little bit, Theo mentioned this idea about surely the opportunities of working transnationally and transdisciplinarily should be allowing us to develop some of that skill set. And we also talked a little bit about how much of this is an individual responsibility versus a team responsibility versus our funding bodies and other agencies also requiring some long-term consciousness about our green awareness and our green impacts. So anybody who has tips, leadership models to follow, etc., around becoming good planetary citizens, that would be very welcome. I will pass it over to Louisa to say the last words, and thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, just to say a final thank you to all our panelists. Thank you for Sarah for moderating the really great discussions, getting lots of insights from our speakers, and I think they deserve another round of applause.
And I thank you very much for building that pillar of this Krakow to London bridge here in Warsaw. And here in Warsaw, we are finishing the last session of the conference. So thank you very much, and I believe that the panelists deserve a very, very hot round of applause, because that's the applause for all the 60 people who shared the minds, shared the experience with you. We've had as many as 60 or even more speakers, because I also count all those of you, ladies and gentlemen, who have asked your questions. Some of them, like, for example, the last one, definitely contributing a lot and being also informative. So a very big round of applause to you, our dear audience. Never believe when they tell you you're not a contributor. So this is the end of Europe and Mobilities conference. Europe goes on, and so does mobility. And I believe that the journey does not end here. It's end of a conference, and it's just another path, one that we all must take to put the conclusions into effect and to transform all the reflections that we have into action, into change. But I believe that more about that and all the true thanks we should hear from the architect and the soul of the project. I have the honor to invite here Mr. Paweł Kaczmarczyk.
Don't worry, we are really getting close to the lunch. We are after 2.5 days of very intensive discussions and exchanges. And I would very strongly emphasize this exact point, as in my opinion, these interactions are not only very valid, important, but also they extended beyond this room. So I know that many of you wanted to have more time for QA sessions. This is what we just try to accommodate somehow. But at least I believe that it was possible just to have these discussions and ask questions, receive answers, also during coffee breaks and lunch breaks. So I guess they are as important as what happened here in the room. But to the point, because I should somehow wrap up or sum up the conference, I guess it's impossible. It's impossible because the scope was very broad and discussions, they were even more diverse. So I wouldn't even go to make a kind of synthetic summary. So instead, I just decided that maybe I would just share with you a few observations, and this, of course, my subjective takeaways from the conference. So we covered several themes identified as important for the recent and future situation of Europe. And of course, the catalog was not exhaustive, but it's quite interesting that when you just saw this morning the research program, there are so many similarities. So I'm really happy that we managed somehow, we didn't know, of course, the research program before, but apparently there are so many linkages. So I hope we somehow contributed to this debate. The second point, in most of the cases we discussed, it seems that the public debate is strongly myth-driven. And this is the point we started with. We started discussing migration with Hein de Haas, and how many myths they are present in public debate. But this is not only about migration. This is about enlargement policies, this is about demography, this is about green energy, exactly as Sarah mentioned. However, what is really important, and maybe this is the key point from my point of view, that in all cases, opportunities really prevail. And of course, that was the case of migration, as shown by Hein de Haas. That was the case of demography. I'm not sure if you remember, but in this case, we discussed also longevity and life expectancy, not focusing on lowest low fertility and this kind of grimy issues. The EU enlargement we discussed on the very first day, the EU enlargement, which in fact is a big success story of European Union. So in many cases, these opportunities are really important, and I guess this is one of the challenges. So we should feed public debate with positive narratives. And that was one of the key issues discussed during the conference. So how to deal with myths, with fake news, fake narratives, with conspiracy theories, just how to try to bring more positive narratives into the debate. And one of the conclusions, because you maybe remember, yesterday we had the excellent keynote by Natalie Welfens, when she just tried to look at migration research and just try to show us why, in fact, it may look like it has so little impact. I'm sorry again, because I know the point. But the conclusion was that maybe what we need more smart interaction and smart exchanges. So that's why I believe that what we are doing here during the conference, we will still do, is absolutely critical point. Interactions, smart exchanges, and changing also the debate. And important point to note is also that, of course, conference ends very soon, but the project does not end here. So we are approaching the end of the Polish presidency in the EU Council, but in fact, our project will continue for next few months because we would like to share and maintain our results. So we will focus now on communication and dissemination activities, so please stay tuned. We will approach you very soon, asking also maybe for your contribution, your reactions, but definitely we will produce several policy briefs. All of the recordings, the sessions, they are available online. So we'll just try to do as much as possible to maintain the results. Something I guess we maybe forgot, there is also open contest for the best essay on EU enlargement dynamics. So it's already available on the webpage. We'll share it as widely as possible. So we encourage not only students, but all of you, if you like. We have also prizes. So stay tuned. And of course, I would be happy to use this opportunity to say thank you again. I already mentioned several people when we started, but right now I would like to mention again at least 4 names, and these are Adam Suwiński, Mateusz Krempa, Olga Wanicka, and Romek Brzeziński. Romek is not with us, but these 3 are, you know them very well because you've been in touch with them all the time during the preparation process. And I would like to say special thanks to Adam Suwiński, who is hiding somewhere here. And just a brief comment. University of Warsaw owes a lot to the Excellence Initiative. You may know that Excellence Initiative is a special program dedicated to increase the quality of Polish universities, research universities. And if I would have to name one thing, I would refer to managers of science. Managers of science, they're a group of people, they appeared at the university because of the Excellence Initiative. Adam is one of them, and in my opinion, he has proven to be an excellent manager. So thank you. And I would maybe suggest the following division of responsibilities. If something went wrong, just feel free to blame me. All good things happen because of Adam, so please give applause to Adam. He's just hiding there. And my sincere thanks also go to our excellent moderator, Piotr Krasnowolski. Thank you for being with us. And frankly, thank you also for making this event truly special. So big thanks. And finally, these are my last sentences. I'm not sure if you still remember, but yesterday we discussed several research projects, as also today, and one of these projects was titled Timed. Remember? So one of the important messages there was we should be prepared to do nothing. So I know that some of you will join very soon the brokerage side event, but apart from this, please, use your Friday and weekend wisely. So just do nothing. Thank you.
But before you do nothing, there is still something waiting for you outside to be consumed, eaten, drunk. And after that, although no part of the conference, we could call it a sidecar, a side effect, at 1 p.m. you have your opportunity to present ideas for Cluster 2, Destination 3 topics. That's at the Faculty of History. And then there will be Horizon Europe side event, Cluster 2 on-site brokerage meetings. And that's the other part, which will end at around 3:30, also at the Faculty of History. Thank you very much, and hope to see you whenever we meet again.